The story starts with a huge mansion where young girls are being auctioned off to rich old men for exorbitant prices. Every single one of these walking coffins are certified creeps who deserve nothing more than death. But unfortunately, in this cold, cruel world, only money matters. A young girl with black hair starts crying at her fate, unable to understand why God would send to her such a cruel world, but a beautiful silver-haired girl named Daya calms her down, telling her that she needs to look beautiful and must not cry. With that, Daya is called out to the stage to be presented, and she happily moves off humming to herself. She is introduced at the special product of the evening with bids starting at $10 million. Almost every single person at the auction starts bidding on Daya, as they all want a silver-haired girl in their home. But Daya simply smiles and uses her magic to first create a key to her handcuffs, and immediately after, she creates a rifle with her magic and starts firing at everyone in the hall. Chaos erupts as people start running away while guards start scrambling to try and subdue the girl. Back in the dressing room, girls are confused at the sudden commotion, but before the guard could act, one of the girls named Tart, who was pretending to be a maid, breaks a bottle on his head, knocking him out. She turns around and spots two more guards standing in the doorway who immediately draw out their knives. Tart decides to take matters more seriously and draws out a spear from her ass and starts styling on the two goons, easily dodging their attacks and defeating them, and gets the keys. She throws the keys over to the other girls and tells them to run away while she quickly moves towards the main hall. Daya keeps shooting anyone and everyone she can when she suddenly spots the chief pimp lady who organized the auction and kidnapped all the girls after destroying their village. She quickly tries to take a shot at her, but gets interrupted by a sword strike which she barely manages to block with her rifle, but is thrown to the ground. She realizes that this guard has magical powers as well, but before he could attack again, Tart reappears and keeps him at bay with her spear. But as more guards start arriving, she quickly pushes him back and grabs her revolver before blasting them all one by one. Both Daya and Tart quickly get together on the stage ready with their weapons, but the guards are too many in number for just the two of them to deal with. Daya decides that she needs to use a large-scale magic attack if they are to leave this place alive, so she tells Tart to fend the enemies off. While she starts chanting the spell, Tart pretends to be back in an American high school and starts blasting down the enemies, while Daya focuses on her magic spell and soon enough manages to blast through the walls of the mansion, giving them an escape route. Right outside the mansion, near the edge of the forest, Lugh, a master assassin, aims with his sniper rifle, noticing all the carnage unfold as he realizes that their guess was correct and the mistress of the mansion is the culprit who has been attacking villages, burning them down and carrying away any beautiful girl they can get their hands on. He decides that he has enough evidence and is ready to execute the target, and with that, he uses his magic eye which enables wall hack, and with that, he manages to track the mistress of the mansion down, who runs from one room to the other, trying to escape her fate, not knowing that her future has already been sealed. With that, Lugh pulls the trigger, no-scoping her with a clean headshot. This takes him back to his previous life when he was a master assassin on Earth working with his underling, where they were tasked to destroy a bunch of drug dealers. His accuracy is unmatched as he shoots down the goons one after the other, even if they try to hide behind cars. But after assassinating 6 men, he packs up and starts moving back. His trainee tells him that they can finish off the remaining mafia members as well. But Lugh replies that he was only ordered to kill 6 men, so his job is done. The girl tries to talk back, but Lugh tells the wench to shut up and explains that the organization only wants to replace the top members of the mafia right now, and they are not supposed to do anything that they are not commanded to. With that, the girl shuts up and gets into the car, but suddenly Lugh notices an unmanned drone roaming around in the sky. With that, his heart rate quickens as he jumps into the car and takes off, telling the girl to get her weapons ready as they are going to get hunted down soon. Just as he expected, a huge convoy of soldiers give chase in Humvees and open fire at the fleeing car, immediately destroying it as it goes up in flames, but unbeknownst to them, Lugh managed to escape by jumping out of the moving vehicle at the last moment, faking their deaths. Lugh patches the girl's injured leg up and tells her to get rest as they should start moving at the break of dawn. While trying to get some rest, the girl starts asking Lugh about why he became an assassin in the first place. Lugh replies that he was born into the organization itself, and they raised him to be the greatest assassin in the world. They end up disagreeing about veganism or some shit, so Lugh decides to show her a woman's right place in the kitchen as he points a gun at her head. The girl is shocked, as even though she is the top assassin of her class, this old man managed to point a gun at her. And not only that, Lugh managed to grab her own pistol before pointing it at her. Lugh told her that he managed to slip the pistol away from her because she trusted him, which is a very big flaw since Lugh might as well have been ordered to kill her later to leave no evidence. After outclassing her completely, Lugh finally takes the pistol off her head and puts it back in her pocket before laying down to get some sleep. The girl stands there shocked before taking the gun out of her holster and pointing it back at him. Lugh tells her to simply get some sleep, but the girl threatens to shoot him for real. Lugh simply stands up and shows that he has already taken out all the bullets from her gun, once again outclassing her, while she stands there shocked, envisioning a future making sandwiches now. Later that morning, they finally manage to reach back to their safe house, where he calls the organization, who congratulates him on his final mission and wish him a happy retirement, ordering him to come back to Japan immediately. He takes out 2 fake passports and some flight ticket with which they board the plane successfully. While on his seat, he thinks about what he will do with his life now, when suddenly the plane shakes violently and the news breaks that the plane has been hijacked. Lugh finds it a little odd, so he immediately rushes towards the cockpit, knocking out the air hostess, and opens the door only to find both the pilots dead and the controls all broken. He realizes that the organization must be disposing him off completely to tie up any loose ends. He smiles at his own fate and tries to maneuver the airplane, but the organization is not taking any chances and sends a fighter jet after them, blasting them out of the sky, while Lugh takes his final breath on Earth. He feels betrayed as he dies when suddenly he is woken up in a different realm in front of a white-haired baddie who laughs at him for trusting the organization after lecturing his underling about how to trust no one. He doesn't understand why this shoddy is playing with him, so he asks what she wants. The goddess tells him that she is responsible for the dead, and he has 2 options right now. One would be getting reincarnated back on Earth as a new man with no memories whatsoever, or he can choose to get reincarnated in a fantasy world with all his memories intact if he promises to do a job for her. Lugh decides that he has had enough of Earth and its vegans, so he chooses the fantasy world and asks what he is supposed to do. The baddie smiles and tells him that he needs to assassinate the hero who is going to be born in the world. Lugh is a little shocked to hear that, so the goddess tells him to chill out and offers him some tea. She asks why does he want to choose the fantasy world, and he replies that on Earth he was born for only one purpose, which was being an assassin. He was told to keep his thoughts and feelings aside and focus on killing, but at the very end, when he was about to die, he had regrets and frustration about not living a life that he actually wanted. He asks what kind of hero he is tasked to kill, so the goddess decides to transfer all the info about this new world directly in his brain. In an instant, Lugh now knows all about this new fantasy world where people seem to have a lot of different magical and physical skills, which would be considered supernatural on Earth. Amongst them, the hero is actually going to have an incredibly strong legendary set of skills, which is going to make him a real thorn in the ass to kill. But Lugh realizes that as far as now, the hero is pretty great, and seems to be doing good things. He asks why she wants to kill the hero, and the baddie replies that the hero will keep getting stronger and stronger until one day he will have a final showdown with the Demon King. In that fight, the Demon King will be defeated and the hero will reign supreme. But after a year or 2, the hero's strength would start going to his head, and he will become as ruthless as the Demon King himself, which will bring the end of this world. She wants him to prevent that from ever happening. Lugh decides to accept this mission, but asks to be given a good set of skills so his job becomes a little easier. The goddess agrees and gives him the best stats that a human can have alongside 5 special skills instead of 1. She lets him choose his skills, and after he is done, she tells him to be careful, as even though he is above other humans in this world who only have 1 skill, the hero is still much stronger as he has over 30 skills. Lugh promises to be careful, and with that, he is sent off to another world where he takes birth in an aristocratic family of noble assassins, with a beautiful mother named Esri and a master assassin father named Cyan. A couple of years pass by and Lugh grows up to be a capable young boy, going out on hunts every single morning, where he has learnt the best ways to hunt down game is to kill it with a headshot before the prey even gets to know that it's being hunted. That way the flavor of the meat is best preserved. He successfully brings back another rabbit to the table and cleans it before deciding to try something new with it. His mom complains about the fact that she doesn't get to cook enough food for him, But he tells the wench to shut up as he is going to whip something up which even Gordon Ramsay would love. He starts slicing out the rabbit into small pieces while he thinks about all the nutrients that he is going to get from the food. Just like a gym rat, he thinks about using rabbit meat as the main source of protein since it's low in fat, but because of its gaminess, it's not very tasty. To mend that, he adds a bunch of herbs and dried mushrooms before putting it inside a pressure cooker. While that is cooking, he starts working on the bechamel sauce, which he learnt while pretending to be a MasterChef contender in order to get closer to his target, which was probably that bald idiot judge who knows nothing about food. He finally adds his cream sauce back in the stew and serves it to his family, who all love the dish, and his mother even pushes him to sell it in restaurants to make money. What a gold-digging thought. Later that evening, Lugh's father tells him to come to the training room for his routine check, so he follows the order. Every single week, just like my uncle when he's drunk, Cyan checks Lugh's body to make sure his bones, muscles, and joints are strong and growing properly. It turns out that Lugh's family are also the royal doctors of the kingdom, but behind the curtains they use their status as doctors to get close to their target and assassinate them. His father is a very strict teacher and teaches him all the different healing and assassination techniques while working on his stealth, strength, hand-to-hand combat, and skill with weapons. This is very convenient for Lugh, as this way he doesn't have to hide while training to kill the hero one day. After checking his body, he tells Lugh to dress up again, complimenting on his recovery, and finally tells him that he might be ready for the surgery. This really excites Lugh, as it turns out that his family has another secret up their sleeves. Lugh's father and forefathers all underwent a special surgery which modifies their eyes into a very special weapon, as after the surgery, they are able to see mana, get better low-light vision, and are able to see things happening clearly several hundred meters away. Lugh was waiting for this moment to arrive and immediately agrees to the surgery. After the surgery, he is forced to wear a blindfold for a couple of days, but when he finally gets to remove his blindfold, he gets to see the world like he has never seen before. He turns towards his dad and notices that not only can he see the flow of mana in his father's body, he can see the mana brewing out of his own body as well. His father tells him that they have also found a teacher finally who can teach him magic, and this really makes Lugh happy, as ever since he came to this world, he always wanted to learn magic. Finally, the day comes when he gets to meet his magic teacher, and for some reason, his mother decides to dress him up as a cross-dressing femboy. Regardless of that, him and his family get ready to greet his teacher, who he expected to be an old man, with his name on Epstein's list. But since he is in an anime, of course he gets a beautiful silver-haired girl named Daya as his teacher. Lugh doesn't seem impressed and wonders whether Daya is any good, which Daya senses, and decides to demonstrate her power as the top 5 mages in the kingdom by causing a huge explosion nearby. The next day, Lugh formally introduces himself to Daya, who tells him to skip the formality because she is just 3 years older than him. She then gives him a small crystal ball that can store mana and asks him to pour everything he has into it. Lugh obeys and starts sending his mana into the crystal ball, and Daya is impressed because he seems to have a good mana capacity. However, she was impressed even before Lugh showed what a beast he is. He has increased his mana capacity 1,000 times because of constant training, and he keeps pumping the small crystal ball with more mana than it can handle. Daya panics as she sees it crack and tells him to throw it as far away as he can. Lugh immediately yeets the ball high up in the sky, saving his family mansion from getting nuked by mere seconds. The powerful explosion rattles everything for a few miles, and Daya is terrified of her student's abilities now. Just then, his parents come running there, and they ask what just happened. Daya tries covering up for Lugh, saying that she should have been more careful, but it turns out Lugh's parents are super proud of his magic. Cyan says that the spell was great, but it is more suited for war, but they need Lugh to be an assassin. He asks Daya to teach him some spells that can help with that and leaves immediately. Daya can't believe how supportive they are because she would get her ass whooped for breaking even a glass. But then Lugh asks her if she has more crystal balls like this. She refuses, telling him that they are incredibly valuable and they don't hand them out to anyone. At night, Lugh wonders how he can get more of the crystal balls because they will come in handy to kill the hero. Suddenly, Daya knocks at his door, and the next thing he knows is that they are sleeping together. Daya tells him that as his teacher, she can order him to do anything, and Lugh decides to obey her command to avoid any drama. The next day, it is time to find Lugh's attributes, and Daya asks him to pour just a little mana into a crystal ball. She checks for fire and water attributes, and Lugh tests positive for both of them. Daya is really happy for him because people with 2 elements are rare, but he asks her to test for the other 2 elements as well. Daya's flabber is gasted when she finds that Lugh has all 4 basic elements, but she is also glad to find such a talented student. Next, she teaches him to convert his mana into a particular element, starting with the earth element. That involves this future PDF file getting freaky with Lugh, but he low-key enjoys it. Thanks to her guidance, he is able to convert his mana into the earth element, and then a spell suddenly pops up in his mind. Daya tells him that it is the first spell that God sent to his brain after he unlocked his magic. He doesn't know how to read the words that popped up in his mind, so Daya shows him by example, and he is able to mimic her with passable accuracy in the first try itself. He keeps practicing till he masters the spell, and Daya is really happy for him. She tells him that the more he practices, the more spells God will transfer directly to his brain. However, Lugh asks her if she can write down the spells she knows so that he can try casting them. Daya is intrigued by the idea, and when she writes down the spell to create iron, Lugh can cast it perfectly even without God sending him the spell. She can't believe that she never thought of it, and Lugh thinks that it must be some sort of mechanism in this world that prevents the people from thinking they can do this. However, he doesn't know what the language of the spells means, and he can only pronounce the words as he learns from Daya, which is not really efficient. So he asks her to note down all the spells she knows so that he can try and figure out the language they are in. Daya starts writing out spells to create different spells and find some connections with numbers in them. Lugh immediately figures out that the numbers point to physics stuff like the melting point of the metals, and he explains that to Daya. However, she is not educated enough to process physics, and I don't blame her because same. Anyway, Lugh realizes that he can create a spell to create gold that Daya doesn't know yet. He has her transcribe the values in the spell language, but when she tries to cast it, she suddenly gets weak and collapses. Lugh then tries casting the spell himself, and surprisingly, he can create a gold brick without any problem. He suddenly realizes that it is because he picked the B-rank skill called Spellweaver that allows him to create new spells. However, after seeing him cast the spell once, Daya can also copy him, and both of them get excited as they find a way to create new spells together. With that, Lugh and Daya keep training together while growing closer to each other. Eventually, Lugh creates the most American spell one can think of, and creates a pistol that can shoot tungsten bullets. Daya can also do that, but Lugh is not satisfied with the firepower, so he one-ups himself and creates a cannon that can destroy a target a few miles away. A few days later, Daya clings tightly to Lugh at night because she has to return home the next day. She wishes to stay with him forever, but that isn't really possible. Instead, Lugh gives her a pretty knife made of titanium alloy as a gift to remember him by, and in return, Daya gives him one of the rare crystal balls. After that, she then makes him pinky promise that he will come to meet her when she really wants to see him. The next day, Daya leaves for her home, and once she is gone, Cyan decides that Lugh is strong enough to learn more about their family business. He leads him to a prison with death row prisoners, saying that they are used as training dummies to make sure assassins don't hesitate in killing anyone. This makes Lugh curious, and he asks his dad why he did not train him to suppress his emotions and become a killing machine, because then he would never hesitate. Cyan tells him that they are humans and not tools, and they don't kill someone just because they are ordered to. They assess their target's crimes and decide if killing them will really benefit their kingdom, and for that, they need their humanity. Lugh is confused because this is the exact opposite of what he learned in his previous life. After a few minutes, Cyan takes him to a room and tells him that it is time for him to take his body count from 0 to 1. He leads him to a girl tied to a chair and says that she has committed numerous crimes like theft, robbery, murder, and arson. Cyan tells him not to hesitate even as the girl begs for mercy and says that it was just an accident. However, Lugh knows when a person is lying, and he cuts her wrist with his sharp knife so that she dies a relatively painless death from blood loss. The loses her cool at this and ends her acting to curse him, which irritates Lugh, and he throws the knife at her head to make sure she doesn't torture his eardrums any further. A few months later, Lugh attends the Harvest Festival with his parents, but his goal is not to enjoy the festival or learn about his estate's economy. Rather, he wants to find someone with mana so that he can recruit them as his assistant in his mission to kill the hero. He quickly finds a person with mana, but since it is an ugly old man and not a cute girl, Lugh immediately presses the skip button on him. he doesn't find anyone with mana after that, so he decides to be more patient in his search. A few days later, as the weather starts getting cold, Lugh sets out to hunt some animals so that they can stock up on food for winter. As he reaches the forest, he senses some living creatures nearby, and by putting his ear to the ground, this mad lad is somehow able to find that it is a pack of wolves surrounding their prey. He decides to steal the prey from them, but when he reaches their location, he finds that the wolves are actually trying to eat a helpless girl. Lugh decides to rescue her first and immediately shoots the wolf attacking her. He then does the superhero landing right in front of her to farm some aura and then tells her to hold his gear as he practices his skills on the wolves. Lugh makes quick work of the wolves before turning to the girl. He asks her who she is and what she is doing here, and the girl timidly tells him that her family is really poor and they kicked her out of the house so that there is one less person to feed during the winters. She had heard about Lugh's family territory being a wealthy one, so she tried crossing the forest to reach it, and that is when the wolves found her. Lugh takes pity on the girl and prepares some porridge for her. He tells her to eat it slowly if she wants another bowl, and then goes to drain and skin the wolves in the meanwhile. Once he returns to the girl, he tells her that he is the son of the noble family that runs this place, and she is really happy to hear that. She says that it must be a divine sign, because yesterday, she had a dream that she would meet someone important soon. Lugh suddenly asks her if she wants to come with him, because then she would never have to worry about food ever again. The girl is really happy to hear this, but she asks Lugh if he is really sure about the offer. He replies that he wants her to come with him, and the girl is moved to tears because even her parents didn't want her. However, before taking her in, Lugh clearly tells her that he is an assassin, and he is going to kill tons of people in the future. He tells her that if she wants to come with him, she needs to help him with his work, and if she can't do that, he can't take her along. The girl gladly accepts the offer because Lugh is the first person in her life who wanted her. As she takes his hand, she introduces herself as Tart, and Lugh welcomes her, not revealing the real reason he wants her. Turns out, Tart has mana, and that is why Lugh went through the trouble of showing off his strength, feeding her, and even revealing his secrets to her so that she would trust him. This was all a part of his standard brainwashing procedure, and he made sure that Tart made the decision of coming with him herself so that she wouldn't betray him in the future. 2 years later, Tart has become Lugh's assistant, helping him not only with his job but also with his daily activities. Under Lugh's training, she has become a fine assassin, but the only weapon she is good with is a spear. Lugh knows that a spear is not an ideal weapon for an assassin because it cannot be hidden properly, but he still wants Tart to be better than she is. One night, he finds her practicing her knife skills in secret, and Tart apologizes for coming to the training room without his permission. She says that she wanted to be more useful to him, but Lugh tells her to stop. Tart panics, thinking that Lugh is going to kick her out just like her family, but instead, he creates a foldable spear using his magic, telling her to use it instead. As Tart uses the knife, she can demolish the practice dummies, and even Lugh is impressed by her skill and focus. A few weeks later, Lugh and Tart go to the market, and everyone there is greatly indebted to Lugh. He has been helping them by suggesting new types of fertilizers for their crops, and by using his magic to provide water during dry spells. The people give him their produce as gifts, and by the time Lugh returns home, there is more food in his carriage than he can finish before it spoils. Tart praises him, saying that he goes out of his way to help his subjects, but Lugh replies that helping them out in their day-to-day life is his duty as a noble. He tells her that just protecting them from monsters and bandits is not enough to win their hearts, so he has to do these things as well. Tart is impressed by him, because the noble of the region where she comes from is a greedy bastard, and he didn't care about his people at all. Later that night, Lugh stocks some of the magic crystal balls into his stash. He examined the crystal ball that Daya left him and found a way to produce them himself. Now, he has thousands of those crystal balls, all filled to the brim with magic in case he needs to use them as a weapon. Just then, Tart comes to his room and tells him that his dad has called him to the training room. As Lugh reaches the training room, Cyan gets to the point and asks him about Tart. Lugh replies that she has become skilled enough to carry out small missions on her own, but that is not what Cyan is interested in. Lugh gets what he is asking and tells him that she is not a spy sent by another noble family to steal their techniques. He assures his dad that he has been monitoring her closely, and her body language doesn't show that she is lying about anything. Well, Cyan is glad to hear that because if Tart had been a spy, they would have had to kill her. but that would be a shame because it is incredibly rare to find common people with mana. He still thinks that there were a buttload of coincidences in how Lugh and Tart met, but now he is able to believe that it must have been a miracle that brought them together. With that, Cyan tells Lugh that he called him here for his next training exercise, which is also a special test. He tells him that if he passes this test, and then just one more test after this, he will graduate from his lessons and become a full-fledged assassin ready to take on missions. Lugh gladly accepts the mission, which turns out to be bonding time between a father and a son by throwing hands at each other. They both go into the forest to fight like assassins, and Lugh realizes that the one who finds the other first will have a great advantage. He immediately loses to his daddy in that matter because Cyan spots him and shoots arrows at him before he can even notice him. Lugh begins running away while scanning the direction from which the arrows came. He quickly finds his father and throws his knife at him, but he easily blocks it. Lugh then gets down on the ground to attack him, dodging the first strike from his dad. However, as he tries to attack him, Cyan cracks his knee. Lugh somehow manages to kick him and get away, and thanks to his healing magic, he can get his leg back into fighting shape quickly. He keeps hiding while thinking that he is stronger and faster than his dad, and he also has experience from his previous life. However, he is still being pushed back because Cyan can use his magic eyes to predict his movements. They don't work like Sharingan, but he can see the small changes in his body to see what move he is going to use next. Just then, he feels Cyan approaching him, so he tries to run away, triggering a trap. Lugh avoids the trap, but that turns out to be a distraction, and the real attack comes from Cyan, who manages to keep him on his toes yet again. Lugh manages to hit him with a kick this time, and Cyan vanishes into the forest. He then decides to focus more on predicting his father's movements than moving around himself and stands near a tree. He senses two sources of bloodlust, and just then, a knife comes flying at him from the right. Lugh dodges it, only to find a knife coming from him towards the left too. Normally, he would have thought that Assassin Daddy was targeting him on his weaker side, but this time, he knows that this is a decoy too because a real assassin conceals his bloodlust when going for the kill. Lugh deflects the knife just in time as his dad pounces at him from behind. Cyan manages to stab his shoulder, but since Lugh has got a blade to his throat, he admits that he lost the fight. Later, Cyan bandages Lugh's wound, low-key frustrated that he lost to his son, who hasn't even hit puberty just yet. He thinks that it means good things for their family's future, because Lugh was even holding back during the fight by not using magic. Lugh says that if he used magic, the fight would become pointless, as it won't be a test of his skills as his assassin. Cyan realizes that his boy is all grown up now, and he declares that he has nothing more left to teach him. He tells Lugh that he is ready to take up real jobs now, and the only thing he needs is experience to grow stronger. After that day, Cyan starts taking Lugh on his field trips where they assassinate evil and greedy nobles for their serious crimes. While their secret job is taking lives, their day job is saving lives. Cyan often gets invited to the houses of nobles because he is the finest doctor in the kingdom, and he takes Lugh along so he can notice how much effort nobles put into their security. As they are returning from a patient's house one day, Cyan tells Lugh about his final training exercise and also his final test before he can start taking jobs on his own. He tells him that assassins don't always enter through the back door, because sometimes they disguise themselves to go in through the front gate and assassinate their target by winning their trust. Lugh knows this technique well enough, and he asks his dad if he wants him to become a chef because he is good at it. However, Cyan wants him to roleplay as a merchant because nobles lower their guards around merchants who can get them the item they want. He has already forged a foolproof fake identity for Lugh as Illig Balor, the son of a prominent merchant family. The head of the Balor family owed him a debt, so they have agreed to his terms, and they are willing to train Lugh as a merchant for the next 2 years. Soon after that, Cyan throws a party for Lugh as he is going to depart on his final test. All the branch families that are involved in the assassination business are there on this occasion, and while everyone is happy to hear about what a genius Lugh is, one drunk brat named Rana is pissed at him. He throws his empty wine glass at Lugh, who easily catches it. Rana's dad tries to stop him, but he declares that he can't accept Lugh as the heir to the family. He says that after Cyan's first son died, he was supposed to take his place as the heir, and it is unfair that someone weaker than him gets to steal it from him. Cyan says that they will decide who is stronger through a fight, and he immediately gives the command to start fighting. Rana wasn't even ready for it when he noticed that Lugh was already behind him with his knife to his throat. He slightly cuts him as a warning, but as Cyan declares the fight over, he lets go of Rana. This drunk Karen, however, has not yet learned his lesson, and he charges at Lugh, who pins him to the ground and breaks his arm. Cyan uses this moment to farm aura for his son, saying that this is how assassins are supposed to fight, and there is no one here who can beat Lugh in a fight. However, Lugh has something else on his mind, and later that night, he invites Rana to meet him in the garden. Since he is sobered up now, Rana realizes that he was acting like a earlier. He says that he is still frustrated to lose to a kid 4 years younger than him despite being the strongest in the branch families, and Lugh tells him that he has it nice, because his dad, who is the strongest assassin of their family to date, lost to someone 30 years younger than him. Rana is shocked to learn that the rumors about Lugh beating Cyan are true, and then Lugh makes him an offer. He tells him to become his subordinate, not as an assassin but as a knight, because his swordsmanship is better than his sneaky skills. Rana might be arrogant, but he is not an idiot, and he accepts the offer of becoming the right-hand man to the future leader of the family. The next day, Lugh leaves on his journey to train with the Balor family, and Daya tags along with him. Soon, they reach the merchant town Milchew, and Lugh changes his hair color as he fully adopts his new identity as a merchant. Meanwhile, in the town, a blue-haired girl named Maha runs a small but profitable business. Her late father was a merchant, and she learned the basics of business from him, so now she leads a small group of orphans that offer to show visitors around the city. It isn't much, but it is honest work, and under Maha's leadership, her friends are getting to live a better life than they would live otherwise. Maha dreams of becoming rich enough to afford a house for all of them, and everyone is happy, but just then, a bunch of thugs appear in front of their base. These fools openly announce their intention to kidnap them, and Maha tackles them with her magic power, telling her friends to run away. She tries running away too, but the thugs capture her along with 2 of her friends. They immediately take them to an orphanage outside the town, which is run by an ugly bastard named Torin. He tells them that they are going to be part of his orphanage from now on, and the boy with Maha lashes out at him, saying that they don't need his help because they were doing fine on their own. Torin punches him, saying that anyone who disobeys him or tries to run away will be punished. Maha and others are thrown into a room where the rest of their friends are already present. They wonder why someone would kidnap them to put them in an orphanage, but one girl remarks that the Lord's wife runs a charity and funds orphanages, which is why Torin kidnapped them to earn some easy cash. Just then, one of the thugs throws a bag of vegetables into the room, telling them that it is their food for the entire week. While the others are hopeless, Maha tells them that they should start cooking. As they sit down to eat, the kids think that they always wanted a roof over their heads, but not like this, and they worry about what is going to happen to them from now onwards. All that happened a couple of years ago, and now everyone has grown up a bit. They are used as servants around the orphanage and also forced to stitch dresses to sell in the market. Those who can't perform well are beaten by the thugs, but Torin tells the head thug to be gentle on them because he needs them to be in perfect shape for his next business project that involves selling them out to sick PDF freaks. One by one, all of Maha's friends go through the most horrible parts of their lives, and one of them is so devastated by it that she cuts her face with a scythe so that no one would want to buy her anymore. A couple years later, Maha overhears Torin talking to his lackeys about how Maha has reached the age to get her own customers now. She freaks out on remembering what happened to all her friends and runs to the barn to cut her face as well. However, just then, Lugh appears behind her, hitting her with some cringe lines about not ruining her face with tears. Soon, all the girls are lined up in front of him as Torin introduces him as the son of the Balor Trading Company, who is willing to take one girl as his assistant. Everyone gets hopeful except the girl who cut her face, but Lugh is only interested in Maha. He asks her to become his assistant, and Maha hesitates because she thinks it is unfair to her friends. However, Lugh makes the deal with Torin, who tells him that the girl needs time to be ready, so he should come after 3 days to pick her up. Maha panics on realizing that the bastard plans to sell her to some sick freaks and then attack her himself, but she can't dare to say anything in front of him. Lugh accepts the terms but reminds Torin that since he has purchased Maha, she is a part of his family. Later that night, Maha is prepared to be taken to her first customer, and in the carriage, Torin starts getting freaky with her, saying that if the brat had come a month later, he could have gotten more value out of her. Maha thinks about Lugh and how she doesn't want anyone to defile her before she goes with him. That suddenly awakens her magic power, and she pushes Torin, forcing herself out of the carriage. She runs into the forest, but the leader of the thugs catches up to her because he can also use mana. Maha begs him to let her go, but he restrains her, saying that maybe he should enjoy her first this time. Suddenly, Lugh arrives there and tosses the freak away, telling Maha that he needs her to come with him immediately. Torin also comes there running, telling Lugh that he can't take the girl today. However, when Lugh declares that he can't put his family in danger, Torin tells his lackey to attack him. The thug charges at Lugh, who easily demolishes his arm. Torin attacks him next, and Lugh subdues him with ease too, but instead of killing him, he decides to turn him over to the law. On the other hand, Tart pretends to be Maha and visits the creep's house, but she has guards right behind her, who arrest the guy. The next morning, Torin and his entire crew are arrested, and the girls get to live their lives freely again. Lugh even heals the scarred girl's face as a favor to Maha, who has to leave her friends behind to go with her Prince Charming. A few days later, Lugh performs surgery on the real son of the Balor house, but he forbids him from telling anyone. The head of the family is really grateful to Lugh, and he asks how he can repay this debt because good merchants never receive anything for free. Lugh just asks him to let him keep his family as a backup place to stay in case assassination lands him in too much trouble. Mr. Balor is happy to hear that, and then he suddenly remembers that he finished the paperwork for adopting Maha into the family as well. A couple weeks later, Balor shows Lugh the layout of a shop they own. He explains that they tried setting it up as a liquor store first, but that failed miserably, and now they want to turn it into another shop. Balor asks Lugh to run this shop because he trusts in his abilities and character. Lugh gladly takes the task, and later, he tells Tart and Maha about it. He tells them that he plans to use this store for his assassination-related work as well, and for that, he needs to sell goods that are targeted at nobles. He decides that selling high-quality cosmetics and sweets to attract noble ladies would be the best way to earn money while also gaining information. He quickly takes up the idea with Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, and his wife, who hates Lugh's guts because she believes that he is her husband's bastard son. As Lugh tells them about his idea to start a cosmetic business, they tell him that the market is already saturated and brand name matters more than product quality there. Lugh understands that, but he says that he is going to introduce a completely new product to the market. He begins to talk to his fake stepmother about how removing makeup removes oil and moisture from the skin, damaging it in the long run. She agrees with him, and then Lugh presents the world's first moisturizer bottle to her, saying that it can reduce the damage caused by makeup products. The woman gets curious about it, and she applies the moisturizer on her skin, immediately noticing the difference. She removes the mask to show her old and wrinkly face, and Lugh tells her that if moisturizer had been invented before, her face would look better. Well, the woman agrees, and even Balor tries it out. Lugh then asks his stepmom to try putting makeup over the moisturizer, because it will keep her skin protected while letting her decorate herself to look like a clown. The old hag is so impressed by the moisturizer bottle that she is ready to accept Lugh as her own son, and her husband tells her to distribute it to her friends so that they can have a consumer base ready by the time the product is in the market. He then asks Lugh how many bottles can be produced per week, and he replies that he can only make 200 of them. He says that they should not hire workers for that immediately, because that will risk leaking out their secrets to the competitor and instead gradually scale up production. Balor understands the logic and tells him to get to work, but Lugh tells him that he needs to go to the family of medics and assassins for that because an important ingredient in the moisturizer grows only there. He decides to set up the factory there itself because then no one can steal their secrets. Balor permits him to do so, and Lugh heads home for the first time in a long time along with Tart. A month later, Lugh's cosmetic shop is the hottest stuff in the market, and Maha manages it with her friends from the orphanage. Lugh has become famous all over the kingdom now, which gives him easy access to all noble houses in case he wants to conduct an assassination there. Tart is impressed by this, but she is more impressed by his kindness in hiring Maha's friends for the store. Lugh tells her that it was purely from a business point of view, but Tart thinks that he is just a Pookie pretending to be a Sigma. Anyway, Lugh asks her about the security of their factory, and Tart tells him that spies have tried breaking in and bribing the employees, but they have not succeeded yet. Lugh knows that their desperate competitors will take big steps soon, and that very night, he senses a person approaching his room. He realizes that the spy plans to kidnap him and learn the secrets of making the moisturizer, but fortunately, Tart and Maha are alert, and they manage to capture the spy before Lugh even has to do anything. They torture him after that, but the spy croaks without telling them anything. Lugh is not too bothered by that, and he decides to take his monthly day off to visit Daya. Both Tart and Maha feel lonely after he is gone, so they decide to eat something delicious while they wait for him to return. Meanwhile, Lugh flies over to Daya's house with some chocolate cookies, and she tells him that she has created some new spells since the last time he visited. This time, she has created an anti-gravity spell, and Lugh is surprised because he thought he would discover it before her. Anyway, they have fun enjoying their tea party and then practice some spells, and when night arrives, Lugh flies back to his mansion. As time passes, Lugh sends Tart out to battlefields as a mercenary to gain more experience, while he lets Maha handle the business so that she can become a more skilled merchant. In the meantime, he has been attending numerous parties and forming connections with nobles that will help him carry out his missions in the future. 2 years have already passed since he joined the Balor family, and now it is time for him to return home. Lugh decides to leave Maha in the city so that she can run his cosmetic store, and she is confident that she can handle the store well and even expand it. She tells Lugh about her plans to open branches of their store in other cities and shows him the first location she has selected. Lugh is shocked to see the location because he has done some digging into Maha's past, and he knows that it was a store that was once run by her dad's company. However, when he was betrayed by his right-hand man and killed for his money, Maha sensed the danger to her life and fled to this city. Lugh realizes that Maha plans to reclaim her father's company now, and this store is her first step towards her goal. He tells her to do what she wants because he trusts her, and he doesn't care if she lets her personal stuff interfere with her job as long as she can produce results. Maha is happy to hear that, and just then, her friends come to the room to give a farewell present to Lugh. They tell him that he saved them from hell and gave them a chance to live a proper life. Lugh accepts their gift and says that he will never forget them. After that, he turns his appearance back to normal and gets ready to return to his home. He leaves Maha to handle both the business and the information network he has created here, and she promises that she will work hard for that. She then asks Lugh to visit her once in a while, because she would be very lonely without him. Lugh promises that he will see her in between missions, and with that, he leaves the place. In the carriage, he notices Tart looking gloomy because she is also missing Maha already. Suddenly, Lugh senses Mana nearby and immediately orders the driver to stop the carriage. He finds that a pack of wolf monsters has surrounded them, and Tart asks his permission to show her skills. As soon as Lugh gives her the permission, she pulls out her spear strapped to her juicy thighs and hunts down the wolves one by one. She uses some magic abilities as well, and Lugh is impressed by her performance. However, he also realizes that since monsters have started to come into human settlements, it is time for the hero to appear. Soon, they return to his family territory, and he decides to pay a visit to the local farmers first. Everyone eagerly welcomes him and gifts him fruits and vegetables to show him that they still love him even though he ghosted them for 2 years. After that, Lugh returns home, and his creepy mom immediately starts sniffing him because she missed him so much. Once she is done, Lugh decides to see his father, who is working in his office. Cyan is really impressed to see Lugh's growth in these 2 years, and he says that he sent him to learn how to be a merchant from Balor. But he didn't think he would become a world-famous businessman in just 2 years. Kane tells Lugh that he sent him to the Balor family not just for establishing a second identity that could help him with his assassinations, but for another reason too. Lugh doesn't know the second reason, so his dad tells him that he wanted him to learn another way to live besides being an assassin. Lugh is shocked to hear this, so Kane explains that he has the talent to become a great merchant, and he could live a far better life doing business than killing people. He claims that he is too old to do anything besides assassinations, but Lugh is still young and has not killed anyone in the assassination missions. That is why he wants him to think carefully about his future and avoid a life of bloodshed if he wants. Lugh is opposed to the idea because he did everything to become a better assassin, and Kane tells him that while their job is important to keep their country safe, their country doesn't care about them. He says that if their secrets are revealed, even because of an accident, the king will immediately abandon them and attack them instead. That is why he created a second identity for Lugh in case things go wrong, so he can quit even before starting. Kane leaves the decision to Lugh, and he proudly declares that he will work as an assassin. Kane asks him the reason for that, and Lugh tells him that he has met many precious people in his short life, and he wants to protect their happiness and the happiness of other innocent people like them. That is why he will kill the people who threaten to ruin their kingdom. and he doesn't care even if he is abandoned for this. He says that he will deal with challenges as they come, and if he can't be an assassin, he will think of becoming a merchant permanently. Cain is impressed by him, and then Lugh tells him that he has another reason he wants to be a noble assassin and not a merchant. He says that he is in love with Daya, and he wants to marry her someday, for which he needs a noble title. Cain starts laughing at this, but he supports his son's choice. With that, he hands him his first ever real mission to kill a noble who sells military secrets in exchange for drugs, and Lugh promises to finish the mission perfectly. However, before he unalives the noble, Lugh decides to see if he is really a target worth assassinating. He sends a coded message to Maha to gather information about him and also to arrange for him to infiltrate his mansion. Since there is no Wi-Fi in this world, he has to send pigeons to deliver his message, and he decides to rest till he gets a response. In the meantime, Esri starts pestering him about finding a girl to marry because she wants to see her grandchildren soon. She has shortlisted some girls from noble families, but Lugh left swipes on all of them because he is not interested in arranged marriages. He doesn't even want to talk to his mother about this issue, so he leaves that to Tart, who says that Lugh is too young to get married and have children. However, when Esri suggests that Tart could become his baby mama, she immediately changes her stance and says that it might be the right time for that. However, Lugh coldly shuns his mother and Tart, telling them to stop disturbing him with such stupid things. Later that night, he changes his getup to become the merchant again so that he can infiltrate the noble's house. Tart asks him if they shouldn't wait for Maha's report, but Lugh tells her that they should see what is publicly visible themselves while Maha finds out the hidden truths. They reach a nearby city the next morning and find a lot of injured soldiers. Lugh realizes that they must have suffered because of the noble that sold out military secrets. Just then, a girl comes there to sell some jam to them, and she offers a jar for a free trial. Lugh and Tart are immediately suspicious of her, and as Lugh tastes the jam, he verifies that it has drugs in it. He tells the girl that she still has the chance to stop and then smashes her entire basket. The girl panics as she tries to gather the jam, and then a bunch of thugs arrive there to pick a fight with Lugh. Lugh and Tart quickly knock them out, but they are just low-level peddlers, and he knows that the problem won't go away even if they defeat more people like them. He then turns his attention towards the girl, who is panicking because she needed the drugs for her addicted mother. Lugh decides to pay her junkie mom a visit, and she has gone crazy because of her addiction. She attacks her daughter when she doesn't get the jam, and Lugh subdues her. He uses his mana to knock her out and change her brain chemistry so that her body doesn't need the drug anymore, but the woman might still be psychologically dependent on it. Lugh and Tart return home that evening, and they find a shipment of beauty products sent by Maha along with a message. She has found out that the noble is really the Heisenberg of this racket, but he claims that the cartel is highly active in his region, which is why drugs are found there. He bribes higher-ranked nobles to stay out of trouble, and that is why the king can't actively punish him. This is enough for Lugh to decide that he will take this job and assassinate that scumbag who is making innocent people suffer. He departs to the noble's house the next morning, disguised as the merchant. Maha tags along because she was feeling too lonely without him, and she clings to him on the way, openly telling him that she wants him to share some of his DNA with her. Lugh ignores her like I ignore the terms and conditions before clicking accept, and they soon reach the city where the noble lives. The city is too prosperous given that their primary occupation is agriculture, and the noble's mansion is really boasting about his wealth. They are welcomed by the noble's wife, who is excited to see the founder of the world-famous moisturizer company. Lugh greets her and shows her the latest product of his company. The woman asks her why he is showing the product to her before it is even launched in the market, and Lugh says that everyone knows how her husband has been developing his territory rapidly, so he is the focus of the noble society. They want her to endorse their new product so that all the noble ladies pay attention to this, and the woman is flattered to hear this. She starts talking about how they were too poor a couple of years ago, but now they are really rich. Just then, her husband arrives there and introduces himself to Lugh. He is grateful that he chose his wife to sample their new product, and Lugh finds that his target really loves his wife. The noble throws a party that evening, and Lugh and the new moisturizer bottle get a lot of attention. The noble keeps talking about how much he loves his wife and making out in public, and Lugh is low-key jealous of him. After a few days of gathering information about him, Lugh finds the correct chance to strike. He learns that the noble likes to gaze at the moon before going to bed, and he decides to snipe him from a distance while he is enjoying his little routine. Lugh takes aim while Tart guards his back, and once he is locked in, he shoots a bullet that pierces the noble's head, instantly taking his life. Lugh is satisfied that the job is over, but just then, the noble's wife comes to the balcony, and she is devastated on seeing her dead husband. Lugh gets a little emotional on seeing this, and he compares this experience to his past life, where he felt nothing even after killing countless people. He accepts that he is a changed man in this life, and even though he is an assassin, he is no longer a heartless tool. A few days later, Lugh and his girls go vacationing on a deserted island, and as they return home, Maha gives him some information that he asked her to research. She says that she found the divine treasure he was looking for, and it is a powerful spear. Tart asks Lugh what a divine treasure is, and he tells her that they are indestructible and incredibly powerful artifacts that have existed since ancient times. Maha then tells them that she is trying to negotiate buying the spear from its current owner, Satanta, who she believes is the top candidate to be a hero. She is having some trouble with the negotiations, but she asks Lugh to leave it to her because she will get this job done as a merchant. After that, it is time for some bad news, and Maha tells Lugh that a civil war has broken out in the nearby kingdom and Daya's family has joined the side of the kingdom. Lugh grows a little tense on hearing that, but then Maha reveals the most worrying part. She says that there is a soldier in the rebel faction that has been causing a lot of trouble, and that soldier is the same guy named Satanta who owns the divine spear. Lugh immediately flies over to Daya's house to talk about the matter, and she greets him cheerfully as ever. As Lugh brings up the topic of war, she casually tells him that it is far away from her home and the matter is not as big as it seems, so they will be fine. Lugh tells her that they might be facing the hero who is on the side of the rebels, and in that case, normal humans won't be able to defeat him. He tells Daya about his secret identity as a merchant and says that he could use his power to evacuate her and her entire family out of the country before they get in danger. However, Daya gets mad at this and tells him that she is a proud noble of this kingdom, and she needs to do her duty by protecting it. She then quickly turns back to normal and asks Lugh how he colored his hair. He tries to tell her that it is not the time for that, but Daya doesn't listen to him at all. She says that her dad is not home right now, so they can go on a date, and in the end, Lugh is forced to listen to her. They go to the market after Daya changes her hair color to match his, and she starts wondering where they should go to eat. As Lugh begins telling her about the best restaurants in her city, he suddenly notices a merchant passing by and remarks that he must be a former soldier. He says that he has a sixth sense when it comes to spotting other soldiers, and he can find that the city has a lot of them. Daya says that her family invited retired soldiers to do business here because they can help them in evacuating if the flames of war reach the city. After that, Daya spots a new store, and she eagerly runs inside. She finds a game of archery there and eagerly asks Lugh to win a teddy bear for her. He obliges and takes his aim, using mana to lock in on the target. However, Daya tells him that it is cheating, and Lugh doesn't know how to not use his skills to win the prize. He decides to teach Daya to shoot instead, and surprisingly, he manages to guide her to hit the teddy in just 3 attempts. After that, they enjoy their date like normal people do, and when it is time for Lugh to return, Daya tells him that she is going to be busy now, so she won't be able to see him frequently. Lugh understands that and leaves, promising to meet her whenever she has time. However, once he leaves, Daya orders everyone to stop acting, and they throw away their disguises to reveal that they are all soldiers who are ready for war. Daya is planning to lead their forces into war soon, and she cries as she bids farewell to Lugh, doubtful if they will ever meet again. A few days later, as Lugh is just chilling in his estate, Tart comes running to him about an emergency. He follows her home, where he finds his dad treating a severely injured man. Lugh asks him who the guy is, and Cyan tells him that he is their latest client, who wants to assassinate Daya, and he wants Lugh to take up this job. Lugh is devastated on hearing this, but Cyan tells him that he can turn down this job if he doesn't like it. Lugh decides to learn the details before making a decision, and his dad tells him that the Daya's family was supporting the king in their country's civil war, but they lost. As the loser of the war, Daya's dad had to pay compensation for the war, and he has sold off most of his property to settle his debts. However, the winners are not satisfied by this, and they have demanded that he hand over Daya to them because she is a pretty girl with mana, and she can produce strong children that can use magic. Daya's dad agreed to this, and to avoid unnecessary bloodshed, she also agreed to be married to some noble creep. Lugh gets angry at himself for not realizing this on their date, but Cyan continues the story, saying that the people of Daya's territory turned out to be more loyal than her own family, and they formed a volunteer army to protect her. This has led to another civil war, and an army has been dispatched to defeat the volunteers and capture Daya. Lugh realizes that the client wants them to kill Daya so that there would be no reason for the war, and he is shocked to learn that their client is Daya's father himself. Cyan tells him that the assassination will be a fake one, and they will evacuate Daya while telling the world that she died. Lugh understands the assignment now, but he doesn't understand why his dad would accept a mission that doesn't benefit their kingdom directly. Cyan says that he took the mission because Daya's dad is his friend, and he wants to help him. He tells Lugh that if he refuses to take this mission, he will go there himself, but he will be too late because he doesn't have enough mana to reach there quickly. Cyan then points at the injured messenger who left Daya's territory 3 days ago, and by now, the war there must have already started. He says that only Lugh can make it there in time and rescue Daya, but he will understand if he doesn't want to take the job. Lugh knows that as an assassin, he should turn down this job, but since it concerns the woman he loves, he is ready to risk it all. He tells his dad that he will save Daya, and he is pleased to hear that. He says that back in the day, he also violated their family code for Esring, who is coincidentally from the same family as Daya. Lugh is shocked to hear that, and Cyan tells him that Daya is actually his distant cousin, and that's why they have matching hair color. But since they are nobles, any place is Alabama for them. Lugh immediately gets ready to leave for his mission, and Tart says that she will help him. He tells her that she can't keep up with him to reach a place that is 300 kilometers away, but Tart already knows that. Instead, she wants to carry Lugh on her back part of the way so that he can save his stamina for later. Lugh accepts her help, and Tart uses wind magic to create a barrier in front of them that negates air resistance and also drags Lugh along because of the negative pressure. Thanks to that, he is able to cover a lot of distance without wasting energy, but Tart is using up a tremendous amount of stamina and mana. However, she remembers that Lugh saved her so that he could use her mana, and this is the perfect chance for her to become useful to him. She pushes past her limits and carries Lugh farther ahead than he thought she could, but in the end, her spell breaks and she is flung backwards by the wind pressure. Lugh catches her and eases her fall, and Tart gets sad because she can't help him anymore. He tells her that she has done enough by bringing him this far, and then Tart asks him to promise that he will return home with Daya. Lugh promises that both of them will come back and then rushes ahead. He reaches her house by night and finds that just 200 soldiers from her family are fighting against 1,500 enemies that have a lot of magic users among them as well. Lugh finds it quite odd, but then he realizes that Daya knows how to use guns, and she must have been supporting the soldiers to keep the enemies at bay. This gives him the idea about what to do next, and he immediately pulls out his sniper rifle to take down the most powerful magic users in the enemy army. The soldiers start panicking as their magic users get hit out of nowhere, but they are used to gunfire already, and they try to attack Lugh with crossbows. He simply dodges the attack and then uses wind magic to listen to what the soldiers are saying. He finds that they are panicking because they didn't expect another gunslinger to join the battle, and Lugh decides to add to the chaos with the magic-loaded crystal balls. He balances the right amount of fire, wind, and earth mana in the crystal balls to create a powerful explosion that would scatter deadly shrapnel everywhere and shoots it at the enemy silently using a bow. The crystal balls create huge explosions as they hit the ground, and the soldiers start to scatter. Lugh suddenly notices Daya standing on guard by her window, and just then, her soldiers join the fight on seeing the enemies panicking. Lugh lets them attract all the attention while he sneaks in closer to the mansion. He finds the dead body of a female soldier and decides to use it as his decoy. But before that, he uses his magic to find a way into the mansion that is completely deserted. He soon finds a passage where there are no guards and uses it to reach Daya's room, where she is waiting with her dad. As soon as Daya sees him, she runs into Lugh's arms, telling him that she always knew he would come to save her. After that, Daya's father comes there to greet Lugh. He thanks him for taking his daughter away to safety, but also remarks that he would have wanted to meet her boyfriend sooner. Daya gets embarrassed by that, but her dad knows there is no time for that now. He tells Lugh that he actually planned to surrender, but his soldiers realize that, and they locked him in here so that they could keep Daya safe. Lugh asks him what he plans to do now, and the man tells him that he is going to go on a rampage, attracting the attention of the enemies. That way, he will buy time for his allies to escape. But he doesn't plan to sacrifice his life either. He is going to vanish from the battlefield after his soldiers get away, and then he will gather his strength to launch a counterattack at the rebels and take the kingdom back from them. Lugh likes his plan and says that they will set the fire in the room and tell everyone that Daya roasted herself because she couldn't see any more bloodshed. He places the body of the fallen soldier as the decoy and then tells Daya to yell out of the window that she can't live after so many people have lost their lives because of her. Daya agrees and opens the window, but just as she is about to yell her fake suicide voice note, Lugh senses that something is off. He realizes that it is the same feeling that he experienced in his previous life right before he was attacked by the fighter jet and figures out that they are in danger. He scans the area with his magic eyes and briefly locates the danger standing 1 mile away. The enemy yeets a massive spear in his direction that launches mini projectiles, killing all the soldiers in its way, and Lugh immediately pins Daya to the ground while throwing a pocket nuke to block the attack. However, despite the powerful bomb he threw, the spear doesn't lose any momentum, and instead, it destroys the room completely before stopping mid-air. Both Lugh and Daya are shocked to see the spear, which suddenly starts glowing because of mana, and then returns to its owner's hand at super speed. Lugh gets a chance to look at the enemy properly now, and he sees a confident redhead with an overwhelming amount of mana. The enemy notices him as well, and Lugh immediately pulls out his cannon to attack. He tells Daya and her dad to cover their ears as he fires an explosive round that hits the enemy head-on. Daya thinks that no one can survive a powerful explosion like that, but their enemy is not just any random soldier. Lugh sees that the enemy has only lost his armor from the explosion, and he is still completely fine. He seems rather spirited after taking the hit because it is the first time he has ever experienced pain. He begins shouting that it was really great, and his muscles start swelling up like he did 2 years of gym in 1 day. Lugh realizes that it is the S-ranked skill called Berserk that increases attack and defense according to the damage a person takes. He realizes that the enemy is too strong right now, and even if he shoots him with a cannon again, it won't do any damage. Daya's dad immediately tells Lugh to take the girl and run because now they don't have time to fake her death since they are dealing with the soldier who ended the civil war single-handedly. And even the royal family surrendered because they knew they couldn't defeat him. Meanwhile, the soldier starts yelling at Lugh, saying that he was really impressed by his previous attack, so he will give him a choice. He says that he can either kill everyone here, or Lugh can fight him fair and square like a knight. He promises that if Lugh wins in a duel against him, he will retreat immediately and never allow anyone to attack Daya's family ever again. Lugh is surprised by this because the Berserker skill makes people lose their reason, but the guy is still functioning perfectly. Only at this point does he realize that he is actually facing the hero, and his theory is verified as the knight introduces himself as Setanta. Lugh realizes that all the information Maha gave him about the divine spear and the hero was right, but that doesn't make it any easier for him to handle his opponent. Setanta tells him not to even think of escaping, because he will chase him to the end of the earth and fight him because he is the only opponent that has ever come close to him. Lugh realizes that Setanta is not bluffing, and he doesn't have any choice but to accept the duel. Daya asks him if he is confident that he can win, and Lugh says that he is pretty sure he will lose. As he stores the cannon, he says that if this thing couldn't put a dent in Setanta, he won't even last 10 seconds, which is a lot in my opinion. Daya panics on hearing this and asks Lugh how he can fight someone he can't beat, but he replies that he just can't beat Setanta in a fair fight. He uses his magic and summons a big black rocket, telling Daya that he is an assassin, and he is going to fight like one. Lugh throws the rocket outside, and it vanishes immediately. He then asks Daya's dad to come with him because he needs him to be present if they are going to end this war with a duel. Daya's dad says that he can use all his soldiers to stall Setanta so that Lugh and Daya can escape, but he shoots down the idea because their forces will be demolished in a minute, and then Setanta will catch up to them. Lugh declares that he will assassinate Setanta, because if he is truly the hero, he will keep becoming stronger, and if he can't kill him here, he won't be strong enough to do that in the future. Lugh then approaches Setanta accompanied by Daya's father and tells him that he accepts his challenge. Setanta is happy to hear that because no one has accepted a duel with him before. However, Lugh is waiting for the device he set up earlier to get ready, so he decides to stall Setanta for 5 minutes. He starts by introducing himself and gives a fake name to confuse the crazy hero, while scanning his body for any injuries from the previous explosion, but they have all healed. Lugh then asks Setanta if he will really withdraw his forces if he loses, and he promises to do so. He says that he will fight anyone who tries to attack this region, and in case Lugh doesn't believe him, he is ready to cast a binding spell on himself to prove it. Lugh tells him that he trusts him, but mentions that in case Setanta dies during their duel, he won't be able to keep the promise. Setanta gets really fired up on hearing that because no one has talked to him like that before, and he tells his assistant to keep his promise on his behalf if he dies. That wastes some more time, and then Lugh asks Setanta what happens if he dies instead. Setanta says that he will kidnap Daya in that case and kill everyone else, and Lugh says he can't allow that to happen. After that, the hero is ready to fight, but Lugh tells him to ask his men to get back because they will get caught in the crossfire and die needlessly. Setanta agrees to him once again and tells his men to get back, and in the meanwhile, Lugh asks Daya's dad to leave everything to him. They get ready to fight after that, and Lugh pulls out a knife to further confuse Setanta and buy a few more seconds. He says that the fight will end before Setanta can even throw his spear, and this fires up the hero even more. Lugh says he will toss a coin, and the fight will start the moment it hits the ground, and Setanta has no problem with this. Lugh deliberately throws the coin high up in the sky so that it takes just enough time to fall so that his attack is ready. Setanta is fully focused on the coin to make the first move, and he doesn't notice when a devastating attack coming from the sky hits him dead on, creating a huge explosion. Lugh is pushed back by the shockwave of the explosion, and he thinks how the duel ended long before it started. The attack that hit Setanta just now was based on a weapon being developed in his previous world, where heavy tungsten rods would be shot from space to Earth to cause great destruction. The weapon failed there because of air resistance, but in this world, Lugh could use magic to counter that. He first created the heavy tungsten rod and sent it to outer space using anti-gravity magic, while applying a wind resistance spell so that it doesn't burn out when entering the atmosphere. Also, he had practiced aiming that skill when he went to the deserted island with Tart earlier, so he was sure about his aim. After that, all he had to do was to stall Setanta till the moment the attack hit, and he succeeded in doing that because Setanta was too proud for his own good. Now, as Lugh hits the wall because of the shockwave, he realizes that not even the hero can survive an attack like that. However, he has also gotten severely injured in the process, and he falls unconscious while trying to heal himself. A few minutes later, he wakes up to Daya calling his name, and she is really worried about him. Lugh tells her that it is alright because he won the duel and now she is safe. After that, Lugh notices that the enemy soldiers have run away, and he doesn't have any witnesses to see her fake assassination. Daya says that it doesn't really matter, and then suddenly, Lugh kisses her, overwhelmed by his emotions. Soon after that, Lugh returns home with Daya, and his parents gladly welcome her. Daya becomes a part of Lugh's family, and everything goes on smoothly. But then one day, Cyan tells Lugh that the hero has appeared in their kingdom, and that means the Demon King is also rising to power. Lugh is shocked to hear that Setanta wasn't the real hero, and he realizes that his mission in this world is still not over. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.